The summer sun warmed the small backyard where 8-year-old Kim Jun played with his toy rockets. He wore his favorite blue space shirt with white stars. His short black hair moved in the soft wind as he made flying sounds with his mouth. "Look, Mom, this one goes all the way to Saturn," he called out. Dr. Hanta smiled at her son from the patio where she checked data on her tablet. Next to her, her husband Dr. Park, Sue looked up from his coffee. "That's great, June. Maybe one day you'll build real rockets like your parents," Dr. Park said. The Han Park family lived in a quiet area outside Seoul. Both parents worked at Korea's top space center. They made new engines that could take people to Mars someday. Their house sat on a hill with a good view of the stars at night. June threw his rocket high in the air. As he watched it fall, something strange caught his eye. A patch of sky turned darker, like a shadow with no source. "Dad, what's that?" June pointed up. Dr. Park looked where his son pointed. At first, he saw nothing. Then the air seemed to bend, like looking through water. His scientific mind tried to explain it, but couldn't. "Ta, are you seeing this?" he asked his wife. Before she could answer, the dark spot grew. It turned into a circle of deep purple light. The family's security cameras recorded everything. Their neighbors would later say it looked like a hole had opened in the sky. The purple light brightened. It shot down a beam that touched the ground near June. "June, come here," Dr. Han yelled, jumping to her feet. Her tablet fell to the ground. Dr. Park was already running toward his son, but as soon as he moved, a pulse of energy pushed out from the beam. It knocked both parents back onto the patio. "Mom, Dad," June cried out, suddenly scared. He tried to run to them, but his feet left the ground. The beam pulled him up. The parents fought against the invisible force holding them down. They watched in horror as their only child floated higher and higher. "Please, don't take him," Dr. Han screamed. Tears ran down her face. A shape became clear above the beam. It was metal and smooth, about the size of a bus. It had no wings, no engines that they could see. It made no sound at all. June's small body disappeared into the craft. The purple light shut off like a switch. The strange ship stayed visible for 3 more seconds, then shot straight up faster than anything human-made could move. Then it was gone. The only proof it had been there was a small burnt circle in the grass where the beam had touched down. The force holding the parents vanished. They ran to the spot, calling their son's name. Neighbors came running after hearing the screams. Soon police cars and news teams filled the street. That night, the Han Park home became the center of a global mystery. Their security videos showed clear footage of the abduction. It was impossible to deny or explain away. Before dawn, reports came in from around the world. 11 more children had vanished the same way. From Tokyo to London, Sydney to New York, the pattern was the same: a purple beam, a silent ship, and a missing child. World leaders called emergency meetings. Military bases went on high alert. For the first time in history, all of Earth's nations focused on one thing. Someone had taken their children. In their empty house, Dr. Han and Dr. Park sat in June's bedroom. His toy rockets lined the shelves. His bed remained unmade from that morning. "We will find him," Dr. Park said, his voice hard with determination. Dr. Han held June's pillow to her chest. Her tears had stopped. In their place was a cold focus. "Yes," she said, "and whoever took him will pay." They didn't know it yet, but they would soon lead Earth's first steps into a much larger galaxy. And that galaxy wasn't ready for what angry humans could do. 3 days passed with no sign of the missing children. The world held its breath. Every telescope on Earth pointed to the stars. Military planes flew constant patrols. Parents of the taken children appeared on TV, begging for answers. Dr. Hanta barely slept. She studied the video of June's abduction frame by frame. Dr. Park Soo called every friend he had in the space program. They needed answers. On the 4th morning, They got them. It started with a phone call at 5 a.m. Dr. Park grabbed his phone. "Turn on the news," said the voice of his boss. On every channel, the same image played. 7 huge ships had appeared in Earth's orbit. Each one was the size of a small city. They sat in perfect formation, making no move to hide. "Are they the ones who took June?" Dr. Han asked, her voice shaking. Before Dr. Park could answer, all screens around the world changed at once. TVs, phones, computers, all showed the same face. It wasn't human. The being had pale blue skin and 3 pairs of eyes stacked vertically. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but everyone heard its words in their own language. "People of Earth, I am Lord Vex, ambassador of the Galactic Imperium. We rule over 317 species across thousands of star systems. Your world has been under our distant watch for centuries. Today marks your formal introduction to the wider galaxy." Pictures flash showing countless alien worlds and beings of all shapes. "We come in peace. Your species is considered developing under our laws. We offer knowledge and resources to help your advancement." The parents of the missing children felt a spark of hope. Then Lord Vex continued. "As is permitted under Section 7 of the Galactic Preservation Protocol, we have collected 12 specimens of your young for cultural study. This practice allows us to better understand emerging civilizations." Dr. Han gasped. The alien had just admitted taking the children. "These specimens will live comfortable lives in our learning centers. In exchange, we offer advanced medical technology that will benefit your people greatly." Across the globe, anger replaced shock. In Seoul, Dr. Park threw a coffee mug at the screen. Within hours, world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. For once, they all agreed. Earth wanted its children back. The United Nations sent a message to the ships. "Return all abducted children immediately. No technology can replace them. This is not negotiable." That afternoon, a smaller ship descended from the fleet. It landed in an open field near the UN building in New York. Lord Vex emerged with 4 guards. Each guard stood twice as tall as a human and carried strange weapons. 5 human representatives met with Lord Vex. Dr. Han and Dr. Park watched the broadcast with millions of others. "Your laws do not apply here," said the Japanese diplomat. "Taking children is kidnapping. It is a crime on Earth." Lord Vex blinked his 6 eyes slowly. "Your local rules do not override Imperium law. The specimens were taken legally." "They are not specimens," said the American representative. "They are our children. The young ones will help us understand your species better," Lord Vex replied. "They will not be harmed." "Where are they now?" Dr. Han whispered to the screen, as if Lord Vex could hear her. As if answering her question, Lord Vex continued. "The specimens are now at Nox Station, our primary research facility. It is many light years from here. You have no means to reach it." The meeting ended with no agreement. The Imperium ships remained in orbit. Lord Vex returned to the fleet with a final message. "Accept our offer of technology. In time, you will see the benefit of joining the Imperium." That night, in their quiet house, Dr. Han and Dr. Park made a decision. "If they won't bring June back to Earth," Dr. Park said, "then we will go to him." Dr. Han nodded. "The Imperium thinks we're weak. They're wrong." Across the world, other parents, scientists, and soldiers were making the same choice. Earth would not surrender its children, no matter how far they had to go or what they had to build. The Galactic Imperium had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something they didn't understand: human rage. The world changed overnight. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. One goal united them all: get the children back. Dr. Han Ta and Dr. Park Sue were called to a secret meeting under Seoul. Deep underground, they found a large room filled with the brightest minds from around the world. "Welcome to Project Homecoming," said General Yoon, a stern woman with short gray hair. "You're here because you're the best at what you do. The room held scientists, soldiers, hackers, and spies. On screens around them were the faces of the other parents whose children had been taken. Dr. Han spotted something familiar on a table. "That's from our yard," she said, pointing to a small metal object. "Yes," said General Yun. "The alien beam left it behind. We found similar objects at all abduction sites." Dr. Park picked it up. It was lighter than it looked and warm to the touch. Tiny lights blinked inside it. "It's some kind of tracker," he said after studying it. "They must have dropped these to mark pickup points." A tall man stepped forward. He wore no uniform but stood like a soldier. "I'm Li Jun," he said, "former tactics specialist. I was asked to join because I think differently." Everyone knew about Li Jun. He had been removed from military service for suggesting unusual battle plans. Now, those strange ideas seemed valuable. "The Imperium expects us to beg or give up," Li Jun said. "They don't think we can fight back. That's our advantage." A young woman raised her hand. "I'm Choi Min, linguist. I've been studying their messages. The way Lord Vex speaks tells us a lot." She played videos of the alien ambassador. "See how he says permitted under Section 7, and how he calls it the Galactic Preservation Protocol. He's being very specific about rules." "Why does that matter?" someone asked. "Because," Choi Min said with a small smile, "if they have rules, they can break rules. I think the children weren't taken legally, even by their standards." The room buzzed with this new idea. Dr. Han stood up. "If they broke their own rules, could we use that against them?" "Exactly," said Choi Min. "But we need more information." Li Jun nodded. "And we need their technology. Those ships are centuries ahead of ours." Dr. Park held up the alien tracker. "Maybe not centuries. This is advanced, but I understand parts of it already." Over the next months, teams worked around the clock. The alien trackers revealed secrets about Imperium tech. Dr. Han and Dr. Park led teams that reverse-engineered the devices. They learned how the Imperium ships moved through space. They found ways to copy their energy systems. They even built small test craft that could fly using alien principles. Li Jun trained special teams to fight in space. He created new tactics for battles against more advanced enemies. "Don't fight their way," he told his soldiers. "Fight in ways they've never seen." Choi Min and her team broke the Imperium's language codes. They hacked into signals between the orbiting ships. One night, she burst into the main lab. "I found something," she said, waving a tablet. "They're arguing up there." The room went quiet as she played a translated message. "The specimen collection was not authorized by the Council," said an angry alien voice. "Lord Vex's science team acted without approval. If the humans discover this..." Dr. Han and Dr. Park looked at each other. This changed everything. "They kidnapped our children illegally," Dr. Han said, "even by their own laws. And some of them know it," Dr. Park added. General Yun called everyone together. "We're ready for the next phase. We need to send people up there." "I'll go," said a quiet voice from the back. A man stepped forward. It was Kang Hyun, a Special Forces soldier and old friend of the Han family. "June knows me," he said simply. "I promised to keep him safe when he was born. I keep my promises." Dr. Han felt hope for the first time in months. Earth was nearly ready. The Imperium thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 6 months after the children were taken, Earth was ready to strike back, not with big ships or loud weapons, but with stealth and surprise. Kang Hyun stood in the launch chamber with his team of 5. Each wore a black suit made from materials copied from the alien trackers. The suits would hide their heat and help them breathe in space. "Remember," Kang told his team, "we go in quiet. Find information about the children and get out. No fighting unless we must." Dr. Han handed Kang a small device. "This will record their systems. It might help us find Nox Station." Dr. Park Soo gave him a photo of June. "If you see our son, I'll tell him his parents are coming for him," Kang promised. The plan was simple but dangerous. Every 3 days, a small supply ship docked with the main Imperium vessel. Kang's team would attach to this ship as it returned to the fleet. At midnight, the team climbed into a small craft built with the new alien tech. It didn't look like much, just a black box with engines, but it could fly silent and hide from sensors. "Launch in 5 minutes," said the control room voice. Kang thought about June. He had known the boy since birth, had taught him to ride a bike. Now the child was somewhere in the stars. "For the children," Kang said to his team. "For the children," they repeated. The black craft shot upward through a hidden door in the mountain. It flew fast and straight, leaving no trail. In 10 minutes, they'd reached space and saw the huge Imperium ships. "Supply vessel approaching target," whispered the pilot. "Ready to attach." They flew under the alien supply ship. Magnetic clamps locked onto its hull. The humans held their breath, waiting to see if they'd been detected. Nothing happened. The supply ship continued toward the main fleet. "We're in," Kang said quietly. When the supply ship docked, Kang's team used cutting tools to make a small hole in both ships. They slipped inside the main vessel and sealed the hole behind them. The inside of the Imperium ship was massive. Hallways stretched for miles. Strange lights pulsed along the walls. The air smelled like metal and something sweet. The team moved carefully, hiding whenever aliens walked by. Most were like Lord Vex, blue-skinned with 6 eyes. Others looked very different, with tentacles or fur. "They look down when they walk," whispered one team member. "They don't expect threats here." Kang led them to what looked like a control room. While 2 team members kept watch, the others connected their devices to alien screens. "Downloading their data now," said the tech specialist. Kang watched the door, his hand on his weapon. According to their plan, they had 20 minutes before heading back. "I found something," the tech specialist said suddenly. "It's a star map with Nox Station marked." Kang looked at the screen. "How far is it?" "Very far, but it shows the path ships take to get there." Another team member called out, "I have crew logs." The science team that took the children is led by someone named Dr. Mox. "Save everything," Kang ordered. As they worked, an alarm suddenly flashed on a screen. Not for them, for something else. "What's happening?" Kang asked. The tech specialist read the alien text. It says, "Human specimens showing unusual abilities. Require advanced containment." Kang's heart raced. The children were fighting back in their own way. Then something unexpected happened. A door on the far side of the room opened. A small alien child walked in. It had 4 arms and green skin. It looked at the humans with wide eyes. Before anyone could move, the child spoke in perfect Korean. "Are you from Earth? The human children said you would come." Kang knelt down. "Yes, we're here to find them." "Do you know where they are?" The alien child nodded. "I am Pick. I talked to the human named June through the learning screen. He said his parents would come for him." Kang showed Pick the photo of June. "This boy, you've seen him." "Yes, all 12 humans are at Nox Station. I saw them in the teaching program." Pick pointed to a screen. "I can show you." Pick's small fingers moved across the alien keyboard. Soon, a video appeared. It showed a large room with 12 human children inside. They sat in a circle, wearing white clothes. One of them was June. "He's alive," Kang whispered. June looked directly at the camera, as if he knew someone from Earth would see him. He held up his hand and pointed to the stars. "Time to go," the team leader urged. "We have what we need." Kang looked at Pick. "Thank you. Will you be in trouble for helping us?" Pick shook his head. "Adults don't listen to children here either." As they left, Kang made a promise to the image of June on the screen. "We're coming for you. All of Earth is coming." Kang's team returned to Earth as heroes. The video of June, and the other children gave new hope to the parents. The star maps showed the way to Nox Station, but one fact was clear: Earth could not do this alone. "The station is too far and too well guarded," Li Jun said during the briefing. "We need help from inside the Imperium." Dr. Han looked at the images of alien species from the data Kang brought back. "Some of these races might not agree with what happened to our children." "Exactly," said Choi Min. "The data shows that taking specimens is allowed, but many Imperium members hate the practice. Some were victims before they joined." Project Homecoming leaders made a bold choice. They would try to talk to other aliens without the Imperium knowing. They needed someone good with words and quick thinking. They chose Yoon-ji, a young diplomat who spoke 6 Earth languages and had already learned basic Imperium speech. Yoon-ji was small with a round face that made her look younger than her 30 years. But her mind was sharp and her voice was strong. "We need to send a message that only certain species will notice," she said. "A hidden invitation." The tech team created a special signal. They aimed it at the Imperium ships, but coded it to look like normal Earth broadcasts. Inside was a message in the Imperium's trade language: "We seek friends who believe in justice for children." For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, on the 4th night, a tiny ship landed in the same field where Lord Vex had first come down. It had no markings and made almost no sound. Yoon-ji went to meet it with only Kang for protection. From the ship stepped a tall, thin alien with skin like tree bark. It had long arms and silver eyes. "I am Leth, of the Dravids," it said in a voice like rustling leaves. "We received your call." Yoon-ji bowed respectfully. "Thank you for coming." "The taking of young ones as specimens is a dark practice," Leth said. "The Dravids know this pain. Our children were taken before we joined the Imperium. We only want our children back," Yoon-ji said. Leth's silver eyes blinked slowly. "The Imperium is powerful, but not all-powerful. There are ways." This first meeting led to others. The Dravids secretly brought representatives from 3 other species: the Mech, with their metal-like skin; the Zol, who looked like tall bluebirds; and the Trill, who were small and quick with 6 legs. All had faced the specimen collection in their past. All had joined the Imperium for protection, but none had forgotten. In a hidden mountain base, these aliens met with Earth's leaders. They spoke for hours, learning about each other and sharing stories of their worlds. "The Imperium breaks its own rules," said the Trill representative. "The taking of your children was not approved by the Council. It was done by a faction that believes humans are too dangerous to leave alone." "Dangerous?" asked Dr. Park. "You learn quickly. You adapt. Some in the Imperium fear what humans might become." Leth of the Dravids stepped forward. "We will help you. The Dravids can provide faster engines for your ships. The Mech will share shield technology. The Zol know the patrol patterns around Nox Station." Yoon-ji asked, "Why would you risk helping us?" The Trill answered, "Because today it is your children. Tomorrow it could be ours again. The cycle must end." Together, they formed a plan. While Earth built its rescue fleet, their new allies would file complaints with the Galactic Council. They would show proof that the children were taken illegally. "This will force them to divide their attention," Li Jun said, smiling at the cleverness of it. In the shipyard under the ocean, Earth's first true starships took shape. They looked like nothing the Imperium had seen before, part Earth design, part alien tech. Dr. Han watched the workers adding Dravid engines to the main ship. "Will it be enough?" she asked her husband. Dr. Park squeezed her hand. "It has to be. And we have one thing the Imperium doesn't expect." "What's that?" "No species has ever fought them for their children before. They don't know what parents will do to save their young." Across the stars, in a cold lab on Nox Station, June looked out a window at the endless space. Somehow, he knew his parents were on their way. The time had come for Earth to act. After 8 months of planning, building, and training, they were ready. The plan had three parts that would happen at the same time. First was the cyber attack. Badu, a small man with thick glasses and fast hands, led this team. Once a famous hacker, he now worked to break into the most advanced computer system in the galaxy. Their networks are complex, Bud told the others, but they never expected humans to try to hack them. That's our advantage. His team set up in a room full of screens. They used the data from Kang's mission to find ways into the Imperium systems. At exactly 400 hours, they began. Their programs, built with help from the Trill, slipped past the Imperium's defenses. Alarms started going off across the alien fleet. "We're in," Boss said with a smile. "Now let's cause some trouble." His team sent false orders to ships. They turned off communication systems. They made navigation computers show wrong locations. The Imperium fleet fell into confusion. The second part of the plan started at the same time. Yoonji, with help from their alien allies, sent messages to the Galactic Council. The messages showed proof that the children were taken without proper approval. "We have evidence that Dr. Mox and Lord Vex broke Section 7 of your own laws," her message said. "We demand justice." The Council could not ignore this. Many members already had concerns about taking specimens. Now, with formal complaints filed by 4-member species, they had to act. The head of the Council called an emergency meeting. Lord Vex was ordered to attend. Several ships from the fleet around Earth had to leave to take him there. "It's working," Yoonji said as she watched the ships depart. "The fleet is getting smaller." The final part of the plan was the most important. In a hidden base under the Pacific Ocean, Earth's first battle-ready starships prepared to launch. 10 ships, each built with a mix of human engineering and alien technology. They were smaller than Imperium vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. Each had shields from the mech and engines from the Dravids. Admiral Kim Ryung stood on the bridge of the lead ship, named Homecoming. He was an older man with a calm face and steady hands. "All ships report ready," said his second-in-command. "And our special passengers?" the Admiral asked. "Dr. Han and Dr. Park are aboard. They refuse to stay behind." The Admiral nodded. He understood. If it were his child, nothing would stop him either. Dr. Han and Dr. Park sat in a small room near the bridge. They wore the same uniforms as the crew. Each carried a photo of June. "We're coming, son," Dr. Han whispered to the picture. "Prepare for launch," came the Admiral's voice over the speakers. The floor of the ocean opened up. The 10 ships rose through millions of gallons of water, their shields keeping them dry. They shot into the sky faster than any Earth vessel had ever moved before. In orbit, the remaining Imperium ships detected the launch. They moved to intercept, but the Earth vessels were already accelerating beyond their reach. "They're following," reported a sensor officer. "Good," said Admiral Kim. "That's part of the plan." The Earth ships didn't fly in a straight line like the Imperium expected. Instead, they used a tactic Li Jun had created. Each ship flew in a different direction, making the Imperium fleet split up to chase them. Then, at a signal from the Admiral, all 10 Earth ships jumped to faster-than-light speed using the Dravid engines. The Imperium commanders were shocked. Humans shouldn't have that technology yet. On the Homecoming, Admiral Kim gathered his crew once they were safely in deep space. "Phase 1 is complete," he announced. "We've left Earth and confused the enemy. Now we head to Rendezvous Point Alpha where our allies will meet us." He looked at Dr. Han and Dr. Park. "Then we go to Nox Station, and we bring our children home." Throughout the ship, the crew cheered. This wasn't just a military mission. It was a rescue. And every person aboard had volunteered to risk their life for the 12 children who had been taken. The journey to Nox Station would take days, but for the first time since the abductions, the children were no longer beyond reach. 5 days of space travel brought the Earth fleet to Nox Station. From a safe distance, they watched the huge research station orbit a pale blue star. The station looked like a metal ring with spikes pointing outward. Smaller ships moved around it like bees around a hive. "Fewer guard ships than expected," said Admiral Kim. "Our diversion worked." On the bridge of the homecoming, Dr. Han and Dr. Park studied the station map provided by their allies. The children were being kept in Section 7, the science wing. "We found them," Dr. Han said, pointing to a blinking dot on the screen. "The tracking device in June's tooth is still working. Years ago, they had put a tiny tracker in June's back molar in case he ever got lost. They never imagined it would help find him across the stars." "All ships in position," reported the communications officer. Admiral Kim nodded. "Begin Operation Cradle." The Earth fleet split into 3 groups. The first group would attack the station's main hangar, drawing attention there. The second would disable the station's weapons. The third, including the homecoming, would head straight for Section 7. The battle began with a burst of light as Earth ships fired their weapons. The few Imperium guards scrambled to respond. They weren't ready for an attack here, so far from Earth. "They're confused," said Li Jun, watching from the homecoming. "Good." While the battle raged at the main hangar, the homecoming slipped to the other side of the station. Special teams in spacesuits cut through the outer wall. A path was cleared into Section 7. Admiral Kim turned to Dr. Han and Dr. Park. "This is where you get off." They joined a team of 20 soldiers led by Kang. Each wore armor made with mech technology and carried weapons that could stun but not kill. "We don't know what's waiting in there," Kang warned. "Stay close." They entered the station through the cut section. Inside, alarms blared and lights flashed red. Most of the alien staff had run to defend the main hangar, leaving these halls nearly empty. Dr. Han checked her small screen. June is 2 levels down. They moved quickly through the station. When they met aliens in the halls, the soldiers used stun weapons to knock them out without killing them. Earth wanted justice, not revenge. On the lower level, they found a large door marked with alien symbols. "Specimen containment." Choi Min had taught them to read these words. Kang placed a device on the door. It beeped once, then the door slid open. Inside was a large white room. 12 children in white clothes sat in a circle on the floor. They turned as one to look at the door. "June," Dr. Han cried out. The boy's eyes went wide. "Mom, Dad?" He ran to his parents, who fell to their knees to hug him. Around them, other soldiers were finding the children they had come for. "I knew you'd come," Jun said, his face pressed against his mother's shoulder. Dr. Park had tears in his eyes. "Nothing could stop us." A thin, blue-skinned alien in a white coat stepped forward. He had 6 eyes and long fingers. "You can't take them," he said. "They are valuable specimens." Kang pointed his weapon at the alien. "They are children, and they're going home." Dr. Han looked closely at the alien's coat. It had a name, Dr. Mox. This was the one who had ordered the abductions. "Your own counsel says what you did was wrong," she told him. Dr. Mox's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. He stepped back and pressed a button on the wall. "Station self-destruct initiated," said a calm voice over the speakers. 15 minutes to core breach." "He's trying to destroy the evidence," Kang shouted. "Everyone move. Back to the ship." The soldiers quickly gathered the children. Some were crying, others were too shocked to speak. All had been waiting for this day. As they rushed back the way they came, parts of the ceiling began to fall. The station was shaking itself apart. "Mom, look out," Jun shouted. Dr. Park pushed his wife aside, just as a large metal beam fell from above. It missed Dr. Han, but hit Dr. Park's leg, pinning him to the floor. "Go," he shouted through gritted teeth. "Take June." "No." Dr. Han knelt beside him. "We all go home together." Kang and 2 soldiers lifted the beam while Dr. Han pulled her husband free. His leg was badly hurt, but he could move with help. 10 minutes to core breach, the station voice announced. With Dr. Park leaning on Kang and Dr. Han carrying June, they made their way back toward the homecoming. Behind them, Nox Station was beginning to break apart. The rescue was working, but they were running out of time. 5 minutes to core breach, the station's calm voice announced as alarms blared. The rescue team ran through shaking hallways with the children. Dr. Park winced with each step, his injured leg leaving drops of blood on the floor. Kang supported him while Dr. Han carried June. "Almost there," Kang said, pointing ahead to where they had cut through the wall. The homecoming waited just outside, its door open to receive them. The other Earth ships had already taken the rest of the children aboard and were moving to a safe distance. As they reached the ship, a voice came from behind them. "Stop." Dr. Mock stood there with 3 guard aliens. They held weapons pointed at the humans. Kang pushed Dr. Park toward the ship and turned to face the aliens. "It's over, Dr. Mox," he said. "The children are going home." "These specimens are too important," Dr. Mox said. "The humans have abilities we don't understand. They can sense things, move things with their minds." Dr. Han looked at June in surprise. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "Did you make them do tests, June?" she asked softly. The boy nodded. "They wanted to see what we could do. I could feel things, know things. All the kids could." Dr. Mock stepped forward. "You see, they are developing powers that could threaten the Imperium. That's why we took them. The Council is too weak to see the danger." 3 minutes to core breach," said the station voice. "We need to go now." Admiral Kim called from the ship. Kang raised his weapon. "Last chance, Dr. Mox. Let us leave." The alien scientist raised his hand to order his guards to fire. But before he could speak, something strange happened. The weapons floated out of the guards' hands and hung in the air. Everyone turned to look at June. The boy's face was tight with concentration, his hand stretched out. "No more," he said in a voice that seemed too old for his body. "No more tests. No more games. We're going home." The floating weapons turned and pointed at Dr. Mox and his guards. "June," Dr. Han whispered, "how are you doing that?" "We all learned things there, Mom," June said. "Things they didn't expect us to learn." Dr. Mox backed away. "You see, they are dangerous. Only when you steal them from their parents," Kang said. He turned to the rescue team. "Everyone on the ship now." They rushed aboard the homecoming. As the door closed, June let the weapons drop. The ship pulled away just as explosions began to rock the station. "All ships, maximum speed," ordered Admiral Kim. "Clear the blast zone." The Earth fleet moved away from Nox Station as it broke apart in a ball of fire. The shock wave hit them, making the ships shake, but their shields held. When they were safe, the bridges of all 10 ships erupted in cheers. The mission was a success. All 12 children were safe. In the medical bay of the homecoming, doctors worked on Dr. Park's leg. Dr. Han sat nearby with June in her lap, unwilling to let him go. "What did they do to you there?" she asked gently. "They wanted to know why humans learned so fast," June said. "They did tests every day. But the more they tested us, the more we could do." Admiral Kim entered the medical bay. "We've sent a message to Earth. Everyone is celebrating." But he paused. "The Imperium main fleet has been called back. They're angry." "Let them come," Kang said. "We'll be ready." But something unexpected happened. As the Earth fleet began its journey home, messages poured in from across the galaxy. The news of the rescue was spreading fast. Videos taken during the mission showed the children's conditions and Dr. Park's injury while saving his wife. These images were seen by billions of beings across the Imperium. Many were shocked by what had been done to children. 3 days into their journey, they received a message from the Galactic Council itself. "The Council has voted," said the alien face on the screen. "The actions of Dr. Mox and Lord Vex are condemned. They will face justice for breaking our laws." More surprising news followed. 4 major species in the Imperium had threatened to leave if any action was taken against Earth. The Dravids, Mech, Zol, and Trill stood with humans publicly. Others were joining them. The Imperium is facing its biggest crisis in 1,000 years, the message continued. All because they took the wrong species children. Admiral Kim shared the news with the crew and the families. We did more than save 12 children, he said. We may have changed the galaxy. Dr. Han looked at her son, now sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. He's worth changing the galaxy for. As Earth came into view, the fleet prepared for the homecoming they had fought so hard to achieve. 1 year after the children returned to Earth, the world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The planet was no longer alone in the universe. Ships from dozens of alien worlds visited regularly. New technologies made life better for everyone. In Seoul, Dr. Han Ta stood at the window of their new home, watching Jun play in the yard with his friends. Some were human, some were not. A small Dravid child climbed the tree while a mech child showed off his metal-like skin that changed colors in the sun. He seems happy, said Dr. Park Soo, walking up beside his wife. He used a cane now. His leg had healed, but he would always have a limp. All the children are doing well, Dr. Han said. The nightmares are less frequent. The 12 children who had been taken had become celebrities, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. They had changed in their time away. Each had developed special abilities. Jun could move small objects with his mind. Others could sense emotions or see energy fields. Scientists wanted to study them, but Earth had strict rules now. No tests without permission. No taking samples without consent. The rules that protected the children now protected all humans. A car pulled up outside. Kang Hyun stepped out, now wearing the uniform of Earth's new Space Defense Force. It's time, he said when they opened the door. The ships are ready. Today was the day Earth would join the Galactic Council. Not as a junior member, but as a full partner with all rights. It was the fastest any species had ever gone from discovery to full membership. The Imperium had been forced to change. Lord Vex and Dr. Mox had been put on trial for their crimes. The practice of taking specimens had been banned forever. Many races that had suffered now had a voice. At the spaceport, the Han Park family boarded a ship much nicer than the military vessel that had rescued Jun. This one was built for diplomats and leaders. They flew up to a massive space station orbiting Earth. It had been a gift from the allied species, a place where humans and aliens could meet and work together. Inside the main hall, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered. At the center was Yoon-ji, now Earth's ambassador to the stars. Next to her stood Admiral Kim and Lee Jun, heroes of what was now called the Rescue. Dr. Han, Dr. Park, and Jun took their seats. The Dravid leader, Leth, nodded to them from across the room. Other alien friends were there too. The head of the Galactic Council, a tall being with golden skin, stood to speak. Today we welcome Earth as our newest full member, she said. Their actions have reminded us of principles we have forgotten. The rights of children, the strength of family bonds, the power of cooperation. She turned to look at the 12 Earth children, sitting together in a special section. We also offer our formal apology for the illegal taking of Earth's children. The Council has approved reparations and technology sharing as requested. Jun squeezed his mother's hand. Does this mean it's really over? He whispered. Yes, she said. You're safe now. The Council leader continued. Earth will have a permanent seat on the Council. Their unique perspective has already helped us create better laws for all our peoples. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. Beings from across the galaxy mingled with humans, sharing food, music, and stories. Dr. Park led his family to a large window overlooking Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful from space. What happens now? Asked Jun, who was 13 now and much taller than when he'd been taken. Now we build something new, Dr. Han said. Something better. Dr. Park nodded. The Imperium took you because they were afraid of what humans might become. Now we get to show them what we really are. Jun looked out at the stars. He could still remember the cold rooms of Knox Station, but those memories were fading, replaced by new ones of friends from distant worlds. "I want to be an ambassador like Yoonji," he said, "to help other kids like me." Dr. Han hugged her son close. "You can be anything you want." As the Earth turned below them, the family stood together, looking out at the galaxy that had once seemed so far away, and now felt like an extension of home. The stars no longer looked threatening. They looked like possibilities, and humans, with their fierce love for their children and their determination to protect them, had earned their place among them. No species in the galaxy would ever again make the mistake of thinking humans were weak, and no one would ever again take a child from Earth.